Hi everyone, welcome back to TechQuest Academy. Today we are diving into Python strings, a fundamental topic for anyone learning Python. Strings are everywhere in programming, whether you're working on websites, apps, or even basic scripts. By the end of this video, you will understand what strings are, how to manipulate them, and how to use Python's powerful string methods to your advantage. So let's get started. First, let's make sure we set up our VS Code. So right now I'm in my terminal and I'm right now in the desktop in the Python folder. So I'm just going to create a folder called strings. After creating a folder called strings, I'll have to go into it, then open it in VS Code using code dot. You can see now my folder is open in VS Code. So I'll just create an index.py file for Python. So all Python files end with an extension of .py. So please make sure that you do this. So now before we start writing any Python codes, let's first understand what strings are in Python. In Python, strings are sequences of characters. They are used to represent text. You can create strings using single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes for multi-line strings. Let me show you how it works. So let's now head over to our VS Code and now try to type in some codes. So let's start with creating strings using single and double quotes. So for example, you can see we can give ourselves a variable name called greetings, and then we can assign it to a certain text, like for example, hello Python coders. This is an example. Hello Python coders. So you can see here we're using single strings. So you can use single strings to represent a string, as well you can use double quotes to represent a string. So now let us see how we can use double quotes. Let's say we have a variable called name, and this variable has a name called John. We are now using double quotes, as you can see. So we will see that all of this will have a type string, even though one is using single quotes and the other is using double quotes. We can also as well create multi-line strings with triple quotes. So let's give ourselves, like for example, a variable name called message, and we can now use triple quotes to write in a message here. So you don't need to go on another line. You can just type in straight what you want. So this is a multi-line. So I can even move down here and just continue writing my text. It spans across multi lines, and I can also do this. So now let's first start with printing all these strings. So I'll start with printing first of all the greeting variable. Then I'll duplicate this on my MacBook. I'm duplicating this by using Option Shift and down key. On the Windows, I guess it's probably Alt key and Shift and the down key. So I'll replace this with now this name over here. Now I'll also replace the other one with message. So running a Python file, you just open your terminal. As you well know, VS Code has a built-in terminal. So you can just open your terminal and just type in Python3, then index.py. I guess running it on Windows is just Python and the name of the file. Or you can even use this button over here on either Windows or MacBook, and you can now run your Python file like this. If you press on it, you can see our Python file just ran. So please make sure you use one of the methods to run your file of Python in your terminal. So you can see now we have our first variable as greeting, and our second as name, and our third as message. Remember, the first one is single quotes, the second double quotes, and the third triple quotes for multi-line strings. You can see the first print will print this one, and the second one this one, and the third one this one. But guess what? You can see where we have multi-lines. You can see even the spaces, even the paragraphs, even the spacing being printed. So multi-line are usually used, or they're perfect for multi-line text, such as paragraphs or documentation, where you need to have every next line shown within your printed string. So now let us look at string indexing and slicing. Strings in Python are like arrays of characters. Each character has an index number. Python supports both positive indexing, which means starting from 0, and negative indexing, which means starting from -1 for the last character. So as you can see in our VS Code, in our index.py .py file, we have a variable called word, which has a value of Python. So let's see how we can access characters by indexing. So you can just use print. You remember print is just used to show some text in your console. So if we use print, we can have now our word, and we can usually get our index by using square brackets. So if we use square brackets, you can now specify inside the square brackets your index. So in programming, indexes start from 0. So 0 means that we shall be accessing this first character. So if now I put in 0 inside here and I run this Python file like this, so you can see now I have a P. If I replace the 0 with 1, you see that I'll have my Y. So if I run it again, you can see I have my Y. So as we said, Python also supports negative indexing. If we put in like -1, you will see that this one will get us our last character, which is N here. So -1 is used when you want to get your last character. And if we use -2, you understand we shall be counting from behind. So -2 will give us now this 0. So I mean this O, alphabet O. So you can see now we have our alphabet O printed in our terminal. So this is what we call indexing. And let us now look at slicing. Slicing allows us to extract specific parts of string. For example, if we just say word and we want to print maybe word, which is slicing, we also use square bracket. Let's say if we want to slice from 0 up to 3. So this is the starting and this is the end, but excluded. So if you write like this, understand that this is any character from 0 index up to the third index, but the third index character should be excluded. We should never include it. So if we print this, we shall see that this P is on 0, this is 1, this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 3. So it should stop from here, but this H will not be included. So it will print PyYT. So if we now run this, you can see it will print our PyYT. Slicing also has a lot of techniques. You can also omit the last character or the first, the last or the first index. If we just write it like this, maybe for example, if we just do this, it means that we omitted the first one, the first index. So this means that it is going to start from the first index, which is 0. You can see now it will be the same thing, actually, pretty much the same thing. So now if we say that we are starting from maybe 2 and we leave it like this, it means that it will go until it reaches the end. You can see it reached the end, but starting from an index of 2, 0, 1, 2. So therefore it starts from T. So now this is how we can work with Python strings in our VS Code. So let us continue with now Python methods. Python provides many built-in methods to manipulate strings easily. These methods let you transform, search, or modify strings. So the following are some of the methods that are commonly used in Python. Let us first of all look at the one that is used in changing your case. So when we talk of the case, we mean either uppercase or lowercase. So now let us start with a text, which is Python is amazing. You can see this text has some space like at the start. So if we want to convert this into our upper or capital letters, it means we shall use now the method called upper. So you can see every time we're using a method, we have to invoke it. Invoking it is represented by those brackets you're seeing there. So if we use the method like text and dot, immediately if you start writing text dot, you see a lot of methods that are related to that data type, which is string. But now let us go with upper. So the upper method converts all characters into uppercase or to capital letters. You will see now our Python is amazing will be converted into uppercases. The lower methods will convert into lowercase, as you can see it. Then let's see how we can remove the white space. As you can see, our text comprises of the white space or just a space which is doing nothing. So we can remove that white space by making sure we use the strip method. So if we say text.strip and we invoke it as it is a method, you will see now our output will not contain the spacing or the white space at the beginning. We can also use some of the methods like replace to replace parts of a string. So if we say text replace maybe the text amazing to awesome, we will now have an output of a Python is awesome. We can also find the index of substrings. Let's say we want to find is. So if we use text.find and we specify that we're looking for is, this will find an index of the first occurrence of the is substring. So let's say you want now to check if a certain text starts with a certain character. This is commonly used in programming. So we can now use starts with to make sure that we look if our text starts with a certain word or a certain character. Like for example, for our case, let's check if our text starts with Python, and this is going to print a true or false. It will print true in case it starts with it, or that character specified in the brackets is really in the text and it starts that text. If not, it will now print false. So now in most of the cases you use strip with start with, because we do not really want to have any white space at the beginning of the text or at the beginning or at the end of the text. So we make sure that we first strip the text and then we can use the starts with to make sure that our text starts with that word. As you saw in the first example, when we use starts with only, we'll see a false boolean because of the white space that starts our text. But when we first remove the white space, now you can see it will print true because Python now will be starting our text. We can also use ends with to check if the string ends with a certain character specified. As you can see, we can check if our text ends with an exclamation mark, and if yes, it will give a true boolean, and if false, it will give a false boolean, of course. So now let us look at how we can split strings. We can split strings by making sure again that we first strip all the white space inside, and then we can use the split method which takes in a separator. A separator goes into the quotes. They can either be double or single quotes. As you can see, we can now specify what we want our separator to be. Right now our separator is just a space. So this is going to split our string into a list of words. So if we now try to print those words, you can see now it will give an array with every word separated by the space. You can see in our Python is amazing. We have Python, we also have is, we also have amazing. Amazing with the exclamation mark is together because we are actually splitting with just space, and you can see between amazing and an exclamation mark there is no space. So therefore it will print amazing exclamation mark as one word. So this is how split works. Of course it will split all your characters separated with a separator within an array, which, sorry, I'm actually using array, but it's within a list. So in Python we say lists, not arrays. Arrays are only available in JavaScript. So let me again break down all the method that we just used. So upper and lower change the strings case, which means either to capital letters or small letters. So strip removes extra spaces from the beginning and the end. You can also check out more methods which can either remove the space or the white space from the beginning, and you can also look at another method that would remove the space at the end. So there are so many methods. There is also replace, which substitutes part of the string with something else. There is find that locates the position or the index of a substring, and starts with and ends with that check if a string begins or ends with a specific character or a text. We have also seen split that breaks a string into a list of words, which is super useful when working with text. So now let us look at string formatting. String formatting is how we create dynamic text by embedding variables into strings. Python will pass three main methods for formatting. There is fstrings, there is .format, and there is a % formatting. So now let's try it out in our VS Code. So you can see right now I have a variable name with a value of John, and also a variable age with a value of 30. But you can see this 30 is not a number, and yet it's supposed to be a number because age is a number. So if you put double or single or triple quotes on a number, it is no longer going to be a number, but it's going to be considered as a string. You remember numbers in Python are either integers or floats. So if you want to check out a crash course on numbers, you can check in our description below. You can look into it because we have already covered it. So now we should remove these double quotes so that we can represent it as an exact number. Let's start with using our if string. So we start with a name, and now we can specify anything that we want in double quotes. So let's say my name, and now we use our curly braces. We put their name, and we can continue, and then here we're now going to specify our age, years old, but I just removed my double quote accidentally. So you can see we have an if, because this is an if string. This is an if, and these are string. So inside the string, whatever is your variable, it needs to be in curly braces. So if now we run this, we can see that my name is John and I'm 30 years old, which is perfect. So the F string seems to be simple and very quick. So now let us look at our dot format. So now we can as well print this, and this is how now we're going to do it. So it's the dot F format. So we start with specifying, let's say my name is, then whatever has to be a variable should be represented with a placeholder of curly braces. And now I'm 30 years old, because we need here to be represented with 30. We should end with our string having a dot format. You can see it obviously there. Now we can specify our two variables in accordance to how they even follow each other here. So you understand that this will work for the name and this will work for the age. So if we run this, you can see now our variable are being fetched. So you can see that these curly braces here are acting as placeholders. So I'll give you more resources to see how you can use dot format for strings in so many ways. So now let us look at our last string formatting method. So by using the percentage formatting, as you can see here on the screen, we have just used our percentages here and there, and you can see we specify right after the string our variables in brackets, but we start with a percentage. So this is an old formatting way which is no longer mostly used, because you will actually not use this at all, because I prefer using one of the two above, either the F string or the dot format. For me, I mostly like using the F string formatting method. So why the S and why the D? So the A stands for string and the D stands for decimal integer. Sometimes we even use I. Let me see if the I still works. So if I run this, you can see it still works, which I means integer. There are so many keywords for the percentage that stands for different data types, and you can check them out within the description below. So you commonly not use this method unless if you choose to do so, because this is an older method. Otherwise, you can use the F string that uses the F, and you can specify your variables within the curly braces, or you can use the dot format where you end with the dot format and you can specify your variables with the curly brace placeholders. And that's a wrap on Python strings. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to TechQuest Academy. See you in the next one. Thanks.